Okay, welcome to the Watchers podcast. I'm AD. This is LD with Tunde, and we have a special guest today in Angela O'Shea.
Hi.
So, what? This guy's a joker, right? Yeah. So, before we start, we have, as Adrian said, we have Angela with us, and Angela's got an interesting and inspiring story to share with us today. So, before we begin, Angela, can you please tell us a bit about yourself?
Thank you, Eldad and Adrian, for the very nice introduction. My name is Angela O'Shea. I've been asked today to come and speak to you all, and Tunde kindly invited me, and we've sort of introduced ourselves previously. So the way I would like to tell my story is tell you a bit about myself and my background. So I was born in England, and at the age of 11, I moved back to Ireland with my family because my father inherited a small farm on the southwest coast of Ireland, a place called Kerry, which is very beautiful. It's called the Kingdom. And so, thank you. So I lived there. I went to secondary school there, and then as I was older, I applied to go into nurse training. So I came back to England and completed my nurse training, 3 years. Spent most of my career working in England, but I'm very close to my family, and even though I don't live near them, we spend a lot of time on the phone, and I visit them a lot. And 2 years ago, I was back home in Kerry. Spent about 10 days there with my daughter. She was 9 at the time. And prior to that, I did have some health issues that I was a bit concerned about. Unfortunately, I felt a lump in my breast, and I did go to the doctor and get a referral. And the reason why I'm telling you this story is because I remember having such a nice time in Ireland, being with my family. It was April. I do remember the date because I flew back on the 17th of April. And the next day, on the 18th of April, I literally had my appointment at the hospital, North Middlesex. I've asked if I can mention their name because they've been fantastic support to me. So I flew back, say, sort of 7:30 in the evening, and then you're sort of unpacking. And then I thought, oh, I've got that appointment. So I go to the appointment the next day. And sometimes when you have health issues, sometimes think, oh, maybe this is something I don't have to be too worried about. It's maybe I'm just being over cautious. So I went through the process, and then you have to, obviously they tell you what you need to do. And I had an ultrasound, and I don't know how long it was, but within minutes I was told this is cancer. So I remember it distinctly. And what I was more surprised about was how calm I became, because that sort of information, when you first hear it, you often wonder how you're going to feel when something as momentous as that gets told to you. So I was very surprised. I became very calm, and I had 3 thoughts in my head, and this is how I tell the story. I just said to myself, the minute those words were said to me, I said, right, I metaphorically put my nurse's hat on. And I used to wear a hat as a student nurse. They don't wear hats anymore, but we used to. You used to depict how many years you were training, first, second, third. So I literally felt I metaphorically was putting my hat back on. And
That's what kept you calm, though. Is that what kept you calm?
Maybe, possibly. I suppose I felt I went into nurse mode because I thought, well, I have to now nurse myself, look after myself, because this is a big thing I'm going to now have to embark on. And again, when I was thinking about how I was going to relay this story today, it's like you're walking through a storm, and suddenly it just all becomes calm. So I just literally just remember feeling calm, and in a way I'm thinking, why am I feeling so calm about this? But from that moment on, I knew I was going to be strong. So I knew I had to metaphorically put my nurse's hat on, look after myself. I knew I had to just literally get on with this, because they started taking biopsies straight away. That was it. That the journey started. And
wait, sorry. So the journey started from that one appointment straight away.
Yeah, that was it.
Wow.
I had to, and I think there was an option. I didn't have to have the biopsies, and I thought, let's just we have to start this now, because what's the point in delaying it? So it's like falling off, not even falling off the horse, just getting on the horse. I hadn't even fallen off. That was it. I was on this horse, metaphorically, of course. And I thought, right, I've got to deal with this straight away. So I had to deal with it straight away. I had to be positive, both mentally and physically. And I knew I had to deal with it on my own. So when I say I had to deal with it on my own, I knew that for me, my way of coping is to feel that I will deal with it on my own, because it makes me feel like I've got control over what's happening to me. And it's not that I don't want to rely on anybody, but I have to do this on my own because I want my friends and my family around me sort of peripherally, but I'm the one that has to walk into the hospital and deal with the treatment, deal with the surgery. I'm the one that has to do that. Yeah. And nobody else can really, this is my way of coping. I mean, other people have different ways of coping, but for me, I felt very strongly I have to do this on my own.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
No,
so,
sorry. I was going to say quickly. Yeah. So one thing I've noticed with what you've just said so far is how calm you were, isn't it? Because I think it's very interesting in life when you imagine things. It's like, what if I lose my job? Or, and in your situation, you've been diagnosed. If you've never been diagnosed, you're thinking, what if I had one? How would I, because it's just like my wife. She had her dad died from cancer, and she does worry how she will react if she was to, But it's interesting how you say you were calm at that time.
Straight away. It was, and again, I maybe possibly surprised myself, but unfortunately, my mother passed away 16 years ago with the same thing, breast cancer. She was only 63, and since that point, since my diagnosis, I feel I understand what she went through, and I feel closer to her. But she did say something to me once. It might sound a bit negative, but to me, I found it inspirational and inspiring. She did say to me, maybe before she died or at some point, she says, "You're on your own in this life." And again, that might sound negative, but to me, I found that a very positive thing to know, because I mean, there's more things I can tell you about the story, but one of the things I do remember when I got diagnosed, within 3 weeks later, I was going for surgery, major surgery. And again, I got a taxi to the hospital, and I remember sitting in the waiting room on my own. And I remember my mum's words, "You're on your own." But I needed to be on my own. I needed to know that I could do this for myself, because at the end of the day, you're the one lying in a hospital bed. You're the one, literally. I mean, you can have friends and family around you, but for me, I knew I had to cope with the fact that I would be able to get out of the bed on my own and do it myself. Because that makes me feel stronger.
I was just gonna say, tapping into that inner strength to move forward.
The resilience as well. And all I asked my family and friends was to keep me company and make cups of tea and have chats. But I want to physically deal with it myself. But I want the company. But I didn't want anyone to help me get out of bed, because I had this routine of how I got out of the bed. Because I had a low bed at home, and so as a nurse, I know how patients would need sometimes help maneuvering out of bed, but I just wanted to do everything like that myself. And sometimes people would offer, do you want anything? But again, I just wanted company and sitting down and just keeping me company and just trying to what's the word? I didn't want the sympathy. I just wanted the companionship. Through that process.
What's interesting about that is that you went, once they told you what it was, you straight away said, "I have to deal with it by myself." Now, do you think the experience with your mom is what made you realize that from the time they told you, or is it just something that you've been brought up to deal with, but like you've always been independent sort of thing?
A bit of both, I think, because I'm from a large family. There's 6 in my family, 5 girls and 1 boy. I nearly got it wrong then. 5 girls and 1 boy, and I'm the second oldest. And we grew up on a farm. This is talking about the resilience. I feel like being brought up on a farm, we had lots of work to do, had to do our homework. I don't know if anyone's had experience of living on a farm, but it's based on seasons. So that from March onwards, the work starts, because that's when the weather's a bit better, and that's when or when you start having to start the farm work is cyclical. So all through the summer, you're saving hay. We have something called turf in Ireland, which is how you fuel your home. You don't have gas central heating, pipe central heating. So everything is about harvesting and saving the hay and bringing the hay home, bringing the spuds in. So it's constant work. And then autumn time, that's when you can start relaxing. So for me, I felt, again, my inner strength and resilience came from that physical work that I did when I was younger. And sometimes you wonder, when you look back on your life, you think, gosh, I did, sometimes you forget all the work that you did, especially the physical work, but it really helped me to cope and to feel like I had the resilience and the endurance to deal with this, because I drew on that inner resilience and strength, both physical and mental, because I especially going through my chemo and the cold cap, which we'll touch upon, which is how I was able to keep some of my hair. That helped me cope with having to go through that process, because I thought, if I can deal with all that farm work, I can deal with this. And again, maybe it's just something you have to stop, you think about within yourself, what will help me get through this, and that's basically
100%,
helped me.
Yeah, because, sorry, Eddie, were you going to say something?
No, go on.
No, I was going to say, you were raised to be a hardworking person, isn't it? Hard work also makes you more of a character, because you need to be resilient. As you said, the seasons, you need to go with the seasons and everything. And so I'm also getting that the motivation from mom helped, the way that you were raised helped. And so sometimes we might take certain things for granted when we're growing up. We might think, oh, why do I have to go through this? But in the long run, it might help you with an experience, isn't it? Which is
definitely, Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, I think you've pretty much summarized it really well. It just made me realize that I'm an older person now. I won't say how old I am, but you sort of forget what you did when you were.
I thought you was 18.
Yeah, I wish. But you sometimes you look back and you think. I suppose I forgot how much work I did when I was younger. But sitting when you're having chemotherapy going through your vein, you think, this is the reason why I went through all that, was to help me to cope with what I'm going through now. So again, I think there's always a reason I'd like to think, for a lot of your experiences in life and what you can draw from it later on, without you ever realizing that you're ever going to need to do that almost. I hope I'm not articulating what I'm trying to say, but again, I think also it gave me the mental strength as well. Because I've always been used to having to do a lot of work, physical and mental, as I said, like trying to do your homework and farm work. And again, hopefully some people will be able to relate to this, because it's obviously unique for people, not unique for people working on a farm, but having to do kind of external work as well as, the work that you're supposed to be doing, but being raised and going to secondary school and getting yourself educated.
And I can imagine working on a farm, like you said, the work starts in the summer, but I can imagine.
Sorry to interrupt you. Springtime,
sorry,
March,
starts in spring, and I can imagine sometimes having tough winters where things are a bit. So you're in a mental place to deal with the tough spots. Looking forward to a better time when spring comes, and so I can see how that would help you as well to fight this thing and to be resilient, because you would have been primed to deal with, like I said, tough winters, and know that when this time passes, they're better
times ahead.
And
that's a really good way of summarizing it as well. We used to like it when it rained, because then you didn't have to do the work. How often do people say that?
It's true. I used to work for the council, and I used to do gardening. I still do gardening, but when it's raining, we loved it.
Exactly. So I don't have to. It's one way of not having to do the work.
I was going to ask you. I mean, you've spoken about how positive you've been. Did you feel any negative emotions?
Yes, I have. So, do you mind, before I can answer that question now, but I want to talk to you about the process of the chemotherapy and about what I had to do to keep my hair. Do you want me to answer that question now? Or
no, we could go with your go with the flow with your story.
Because I think that would help me answer any further questions. So I think we've touched a lot on about my upbringing and my resilience. So I think we've covered that. So the time I was thinking most about that was when I was having chemotherapy. So I had to have 6 sessions. Now, my understanding is most people that have been diagnosed with breast cancer, again, my understanding is it all depends on the type of cancer you have and how many sessions of chemotherapy you need, and whether you have surgery before or after. So it's all very individualized. So for me, I needed 6 sessions. and I was told I had 2 types of chemotherapy. I had 3 sessions of one lot and 3 sessions of another lot, and I was told from the very beginning that I would lose all my hair. And as you can see from looking at me, I have a lot of hair. And again, part of my identity is my hair. It's when I look in the mirror, when I see myself, I see myself and my hair. They go together, and it meant an awful lot to me to keep my hair, because I used to get teased about my hair when I was younger, and I didn't know what to do with it for a long time. And then I started growing it I had it short when I was a student nurse, and I started growing it in my mid-20s, and I use Afro-Caribbean.
When you say tease, sorry, I just thought we should quickly, when you say tease, what was you teased about specifically? It's a kind of a personal story, but I don't mind mentioning it. I remember being teased, other school children chasing me around the playground, thinking my hair was a wig and wanting to pull it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was that big, isn't it? It was that big.
Yeah. So that's why this most of the story about what I want to relate to you today is about my hair, really, because it means a lot to me, because I had a lot to endure through life. I don't get teased now, but when I was younger, I did. So there's photographic evidence of the bad hairstyles that I chose, especially keeping it short was not a good idea. So in my mid-20s, I started realizing I needed to grow it long, and Afro-Caribbean products are the products that really work on my hair. I tried everything. I tried frizzies, but none of them worked. If you ever use frizzies, it just puts a film of oil on your hair. It doesn't absorb. But so I know what to use now. And so having the chemotherapy, I was told about something called scalp cooling. I call it the cold cap, but I think the official term is scalp cooling. And what that means is, it's like a swimming cap, but it's attached to this big machine, and you put it on. You have to have loads of conditioner in your hair, and you put it on your scalp, and it literally freezes your scalp to enable you to keep some of your hair. Because if I didn't have that, I would have lost all of my hair. And so it's minus 40 degrees, the temperature.
Yeah.
So as you can imagine, that is very cold.
Oh.
So for the
That's
first
peak of December, really, isn't it? Peak of December.
Exactly. So the first 15 minutes of the scalp cooling or the cold cap is when it's the most painful, shall I say?
Yeah.
So the first 15 minutes are the hardest, and then after that your head goes numb. So I had to have that for quite some time before the chemotherapy started, and I had to leave it on after. So the chemotherapy would take about 3 hours. Yeah. If you didn't have the scalp cooling, it would take half the time. So the way I coped with that is, I was telling this to Eldad before, I like ska music and reggae music, and during this time I found it very relaxing to listen to that music. So I used to listen to Jimmy Cliff, The Harder They Come 3 times, because it lasts about 3 minutes. So that kept me going for 12 minutes. And then the second song I would listen to then was Pressure Drop by, I don't want to pronounce his name wrong, Toots and the Maytals, or I don't know if I pronounced his name right.
Don't worry.
I'm not sure either.
So that was 3. That was another 3 minutes, and that got me to the 15 minutes. And then after that, I kind of just chose what I listened to after that. But that was my way of coping. And the other thing, which I've got in front of me, these are my mother's rosary beads, and I used to hold them in my hand, in my right hand, for 15 minutes, and that really helped me as well. So first time I've opened them up since the chemo. So that's basically that's when I started thinking about my endurance and my mental strength, and how I was able to cope with it all with what I previously relayed to you.